Hey there, welcome back. This is the third and last part of your communication strategy. We'll be talking about your brand name, your tagline, as well as hooks and introductions here. If you already have a business name and a tagline you're happy with, feel free to skip this part, but download the checklists below and see if your tagline and name tick the most important boxes. But I encourage you to at least watch this video to get an understanding of the roles all those pieces play and how they fit together. When it comes to creating a brand name and a tagline, most businesses do it backwards. They start with a name, and then they create a tagline for their audience to remember, and then they decide what they want them to understand in their message. If they don't know what they want their audience to understand in the beginning, how do they know what they want them to remember? It's kind of all backwards, right? Your brand strategy is focused on your audience. You already figured out the most important things you want them to understand. Those are your core messages. Now, from here, you can figure out the most important things you want them to remember about your brand. That's your tagline. Your name then becomes the first opportunity to deliver that message. So, your name is crafted from your tagline, which is crafted from your primary core message, which is crafted from your position. Each part of your brand strategy serves a purpose. Your visual identity is like a bait. Its goal is for people to recognize your brand. Now, your name and tagline are like anchors. They create a bridge back to the experiences your audience has already had with your brand. The more impactful your visual brand identity, the higher the chance of recall. And the more memorable your name and tagline, the higher the chance of landing that anchor that leads back to the memory and builds the brand in the mind of your audience. The experiences that your audience has with your brand are all stored in their memory, in the limbic system of their brain. Some of those memories get lost easily while others stay top of mind, but the key is to be able to bridge the gap to their memory so they can easily recall all those instances that you have built, all those messages and all those stories. Here's what most people get wrong. They think they need to over communicate everything, that they need to get their audience to remember everything. You don't. You don't need to do that. They don't need to remember every single thing about your brand. You don't need to remember every story and every message you put out there. They will store their experiences in their mind somewhere. What you need to do is focus on bridging the gap for them to easily recall those memories. And that's what the name and tagline do. If you can get them to remember your name and your tagline, or one of them at least, that bridges the gap to their memories so they can easily go back in and recall those memories. And that is how you build a brand. We build a brand in the mind of our audience. Sometimes taglines get confused with slogans. Slogans are similar to taglines, but they are created around a specific campaign, while a tagline is related directly to the brand. A brand can have a tagline it uses consistently, and it can also have a number of slogans for various campaigns. Nike is a good example for this. Everybody knows their tagline is "Just do it." But over the years, they've used many slogans. Yesterday you said tomorrow, there's no finish line, my sport is your sport's punishment, strong is the new beautiful, if no one thinks you can, then you have to. Training is the opposite of hoping, be legendary, strong alone, unstoppable together, and many more. If you pay attention, you can hear the hero archetype in every single one of those slogans. When a campaign slogan is very successful and sticks in the mind of the audience, the brand sometimes adopts it as its tagline. That is what happened with Avis, for example, and their We Try Harder campaign. And it's also what happened with Apple and their Think Different campaign. They were so successful as slogans that the brands eventually adopted them as their tagline. Once you have your tagline, creating your name is like putting the cherry on top. Weaving your message into your tagline and your brand name means delivering it to your audience from the very first touch point. Creating a memorable tagline and brand name is not an easy job. It requires an open mind and a system. And as many good things out there, they take time and effort. Throughout your brand strategy work, you already created many pieces of your strategy puzzle. The most important pieces for creating a brand name and tagline are your differentiator, the rest of your primary and secondary core messages, and your brand persona. These items make up the fabric of your brand and should all be considered when deciding what you want to put as an anchor into the mind of your audience. Below this video, you will find a workbook to create your brand keyword resource. That is a collection of words and phrases that you can use for finding a brand name and a tagline, but also for any other content creation, going forward, whatever you need to do for emails or social media campaigns, whatever it is. I'll walk you through the creation of this resource in your workbook step by step. Remember, as with all brainstorming, quantity over quality. Set a timer and let it flow. Put in the work. You'll want to skip steps, but if you're looking for a great name and a great tagline, you have to work through it. You'll never know where they'll come from or where you will find them. Once you have that keyword resource in place, you can use it together with the other workbooks below to create that memorable brand name and tagline. How many times have you been asked the question, "So what do you do?" And you're caught off guard and blurt out a position or title. Imagine what your office staff answers to that question. Do you have any idea? Now that you've done all this work to define what your audience needs to understand and remember, it just makes sense that every team member should be armed with something that is easy to remember, that they can repeat, and that gives someone who didn't know anything about your brand a clear picture about who you are and what you do, how you can help, and how you do it differently from your competitors. The idea isn't to give everyone a script to follow word by word, but rather to offer an answer that is on brand and entices ongoing communication. If you just answer, "I'm a chiropractor," or "I work in a chiropractic clinic," that leaves too much to the interpretation of the person asking, and you don't really have any control what's happening in their mind. This exercise won't take very long, but I think it will become an invaluable asset when it comes to training new team members in the future. You will put it all together in the Hooks and Intros workbook below. And once you finish this module, you deserve a big pat on the back. This was a lot of work. Well done.